morning, Reptilians. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. So a couple weeks back, we talked about what I wish I knew before I got my ball python. So I felt like it'd be cool to make a video about preparing for your ball python. So if you are doing research and you are preparing to get your very first snake, then you have come to the right place. Before we get started, this video is sponsored by iHeartGecko. So if you want to find out about some awesome conversion kits for your arboreal creatures, make sure to stay until the end of this video. Let's get started. The first and most important one is to do your research. Of course, this was going to be my first one. Doing research before you get an animal is so important. It could prevent a lot of those beginner mistakes that are made, and it just helps you to take care of your animal the best that you can. Make sure you are researching everything. Make sure you're researching care requirements, good breeders, how to feed them, what to feed them, when to feed them. Research those setups. Make sure that you know what you need to get for that tank, and make sure you know what a healthy ball python looks and behaves like, especially if you are going to pick one up at a reptile show or if you are getting it shipped to you. That way when you go to inspect that snake, you can open the box up and make sure that they are healthy before putting them into their new tank. Make sure that you are researching and that you are prepared for this animal before we even get to the next step. Next step, having that tank set up. This is also very important because when you first get this ball python, it's going to be very stressed out most of the time. There's always people that tell me that theirs wasn't and that it was wonderful, but most of the time your ball python is going to be stressed out. It has gone from living a certain lifestyle to everything changing. The scenery and the smells and the things around it are just suddenly different, especially if your ball python is shipped to you or even if you are driving it back in the car to your house from a reptile show. That transition of the container that they're in shaking and rumbling around, that is very stressful for them. So you want to make sure that that is set up so you're not messing with them in that first week of them being home. This includes already having the substrate in there, already having the heat source and light source in there and tested. That means taking a temperature gun and shining it at that heat pad and making sure the thermostat is set correctly, making sure the entire tank is maintaining proper temperatures, making sure that the humidity is going to stay where it needs to be, making sure that you have enough enrichment, that you have enough hides, making sure that the lid on your tank is secure so that your ball python doesn't escape in the first week, and making sure that the size of the tank is appropriate for the animal. So like I mentioned in the last ball python video, with my snake, having too big of a tank is scary for her, but this isn't the case with all snakes. If you have a larger tank, make sure that there is a lot of hides, a lot of enrichment, a lot of things filling that space so that they can feel secure in there, or make sure that you have a backup plan, like you have some kind of separator or something that you can put in there to make them feel more secure. Like I've said in most of my ball python videos, I also always black out the sides of my ball python tanks. I do that to all my lizard tanks and stuff as well, just because it makes them feel more enclosed. I would suggest doing that too for your brand new ball python, just because it's going to give them that extra bit of security. Once you have their tank all set up, you need to make sure that you know where their food is coming from. So if you have ordered this ball python from a breeder or something, and they have told you what kind and what size of rodents that this ball python will be eating, go ahead and order those. You won't be feeding them for the first week, but it's still good to have them on hand. Know if any reptile shows are coming up. That way, if that's where you're getting your rodents from, you can go ahead and get a stock of them. Know if you have a local pet store in your area that sells rodents, or if your Petco or PetSmart or whatever sells a good size variety of rodents, because like I said in that last video, these are not always easy to find, especially if you are in smaller towns. The last thing you want to do is get in a situation where you have this animal home and no idea how you're going to feed it. It just isn't sustainable at all, so make sure you are prepared for that. Find out if there are any vets in your area that see reptiles. You may never have to take your ball python to the vet. Sylvanas has never been to the vet in the 3 or 4 years that we've had her. Sterling has. But there are quite a lot of times where people will send me messages about their reptile, and when I suggest taking them to the vet, they tell me that there is no vet in their area. This is very important information to know. Again, you may never have to take that animal to the vet, but in an emergency situation, you will have to. Also, with snakes, some reptile vets don't see snakes. I learned this when I was going through everything with Sterling. Just because they see lizards and stuff, some vets just are not comfortable with snakes, which completely blew me away. So when you're looking for this vet, make sure you are specifically asking if they see ball pythons. But yeah, this one's super easy. You just call around to a bunch of vets, ask if they see reptiles. If they say no, ask if they know of anyone that does. And if they don't, just go down to the next one on the list and try to find one, just so that you can have them there in your back pocket in case you need anything. And the last one isn't really in preparation for the reptile, but it is a very important thing to know for when you very first get them, and that is don't handle them. Understand, you will not be handling them for that first week. Again, there's always somebody that says that they handle theirs in the first couple days or whatever. I handled Sterling the day I got him. He slithered out of his little box to me, but for the most part, when you get that new ball python, it is going to be very stressed out, and you do not want to add to that stress. Don't handle them, don't take them out of their tank, don't feed them. A stressed out snake is not going to eat. It's going to get stressed out that you are dangling food in front of its face and you just wasted money on that rodent. This also includes not moving stuff around in their tank for the first week. Don't decide the next day after you get this snake that you don't like the placement of where something looks and decide to reach in there and rearrange everything. Brand new environment for this animal. They are trying to learn this current environment, and it makes it very stressful if you are rearranging that tank every few hours. They can't learn the environment if the environment isn't steady. So make sure when you set up this tank beforehand, you get everything like you want it. But yeah, that's it for this one. Just basically give them time to settle in and don't cause more stress than they already are stressed out. And that is it. That is all of my tips for preparing for your brand new ball python. If you are doing this research in preparation for getting this ball python, thank you so much. You are wonderful. Thank you for doing your research and preparing to provide this animal the best home that you possibly can. And also congratulations on your new ball python. That is awesome. They're wonderful. As I said at the beginning of this video is sponsored by I Heart Geckos. I Heart Geckos is an awesome company that makes conversion kits for your arboreal animals. I have had people tell me that they have used this kit to basically turn a tank on its side for a ball python so that it becomes a front opening horizontal tank for that ball python, since they don't need any special lighting, which is a really good idea. Just make sure you're not doing this to anything that needs UV lighting, because UVB cannot penetrate glass. So keep that in mind. But I thought that was a good idea. These conversion kits are awesome. I've had this one set up for a little over a year now, and it looks just like it did when I set it up. It is still super clear, it is still holding in place, and it is growing my plants wonderfully with all that ventilation. These conversion kits are wonderful, and they are made by a wonderful company that I have loved so much for such a long time. Make sure that if you do end up ordering one of these conversion kits, you put Elle's Reptiles in the How Did You Hear About Us box at iHeartGeckos.com, so that way they know that you guys are coming from here. Thank you so much to iHeartGeckos for sponsoring this video. As always, if you have not already, please feel free to follow me on other socials and like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications every single time I put out a new video, which is every Sunday and some Wednesdays. This week's Instagram shout out goes to Ed D for following me on Instagram and going through and liking a whole bunch of my stuff. This week's subscriber shout out goes to Bob Maffei for following me for a few months at least now. I know that you've been commenting for a few months now. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. You are the bee's knees. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye. So make sure that you know what a healthy bearded, and make sure you know what